In the real estate community, I think it's very common for a lot of agents to overlook certain aspects of the job and leave behind some of those very basic principles that is what makes an agent great in the first place. So today I wanted to talk about something that I think is very underutilized and under talked about, and that is the buyer's consultation. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, that if someone just calls you and says they want to start looking at houses, well then by all means go ahead and start looking at houses. But as a professional, it's your job to take that time and really understand your client's needs. By the end of this video, I hope that you have such a grasp on a good buyer's consultation that you're able to go have a buyer consultation with someone and understand their needs to the point where when you walk through the front door of a house, you know immediately, yes or no, they're going to put in an offer on that house. When you have that level of understanding with your clients, that is the key to building that lifelong relationship so that not only you have a great friend forever, but they keep referring you out to their friends. And now I'm going to take you through my buyer consultation checklist that will give you just that level of understanding. Ideally, the buyer consultation should take place over coffee or lunch, something like that. It should just be a very friendly and fun atmosphere. Much like my listing appointment, my buyer consultation is almost entirely questions. You want to keep your client engaged and you want them to feel like they're part of the process. You don't want to just go through a checklist and tell them a bunch of stuff. The first question is, when is your ideal move-in date? You're asking this question because they might not be familiar with the home buying process. Once you figure out the ideal move-in date, now you can start scheduling out all those timelines mentally and get them prepped so that they're not rushing later on. You also want to get a sense of their urgency and ask them a question like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your need to buy a home? Do you need to buy a home? Are you moving into the area and need to find a home for your family? Or are you just looking at an investment properties and just kind of seeing if something good pops up? You want to ask them if they're a first-time home buyer, because that's going to give you an idea of how detailed the rest of your presentation needs to be. You should ask them if they're working with any other agents. If a buyer agency agreement is your thing, you can go that route and get them to sign that. That's never really been my style, but I can understand why people use them. Then you want to ask them if they've already been pre-approved and started working with a lender. This job requires us to build relationships with a lot of different industries. One of the most important ones is finding a good lender that can communicate really well and can also provide good service and good rates to their customers. You want to ask them the basics like what areas are they moving to, where will they be commuting to work, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms do they need. You want to find out if there's any must-haves that they're looking for in a home, like a fenced-in backyard or a screened-in patio, garage, something like that. You also want to find out if there's anything that's going to be a no-go for them, like potentially the house being on a main road. That might be a red flag for them because they maybe have children and want their home to be a safe place for the kids to go out and play. You also want to find out if they're trying to find a house with a certain proximity to a business center for commuting or maybe a school or something like that. To get a good feel for the layout and the floor plan of their desired house, you want to ask them what kind of activities they like to do at home. Find out if they like to do a lot of entertaining, because then potentially they might be looking for something that has a more open concept, that has a lot of room for seating, things like that. Now this next one is super important and I see realtors skip over this one all the time. You don't need to have the exact figures off the top of your head, but you should have an idea of the ballpark monthly payment for their desired price range. Maybe they got a pre-approval for $400,000, so they're good to go on purchasing power, but they're not financially prepared for that $3,000 a month of monthly payment. So when you're helping your clients try to figure out their ideal budget, you want to not only look at how much house they can afford, but you also want to talk with them and figure out how much monthly payment they can afford. Really, for most people, the monthly payment is what it's going to come down to, and it's really not going to matter that much of the purchase price. You also want to ask your clients if they're familiar with the out-of-pocket expenses involved with buying a home. For example, you have a home inspection, which for our area could easily be up to $600. You have a WDO inspection that's required for VA loans, and then a lot of lenders require you to pay upfront out of pocket for the appraisal. So that could be another $650 right there. You should also ask if they're familiar with how the deposit works and about how much that could be. It's better to find out right now that they're not quite ready than after you go under contract and it's too late. When I'm talking with my clients, I also like to ask them what kind of buyers they are. I like to know if they're going to be someone who participates a little bit more in the search and they're going to be on Zillow every day with me, or if they're planning just to kick back and let me do the searching. I'm fine with either one of those scenarios, but ideally I just like to know beforehand. I also asked them if they'd like to be put up on any sort of automatic updates so they can get weekly or daily updates from the MLS, and if they prefer to stay up to date over text message or email. I'm really just trying to dig in deep so that I can understand my clients and we can be on the same page and we can build a really great relationship. And I know if you even roughly follow this checklist, you're gonna have a great experience too. So go out there and do great things. If you like the video, make sure you press thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.